Hello there, and welcome to Akweya TV, where we deal in history, art, culture, and development. And today, one of the big issues facing us are the issues relating to women, because women do a lot, but they get very little value for whatever they do. Even in the political arena, you see that women are the main voters, but very few women are being voted for. And when it comes to what they get from the efforts in the political systems, they get very little. Now, in agriculture, women do a lot in food production, but they're not getting as much value for that energy and the whole effort they put into food production. That is one of the developmental issues that we feel on Akweya TV needs a lot of focus on. And today, we've got someone who has been doing a lot in that direction. The executive director of Adinya Ade Foundation. She has been a gender advocate for a very long time, and she has a lot of experience in all the facets I have mentioned, which is whether the political or the grassroots work with respect to development issues of women. I'm talking about none other than Mrs. Mabel Ade. You're welcome.
Thank you very much,
yes.
Diego.
It's been a long time that you've been working in these development issues. What makes women's issues the real development issue? Why do you think women's issues are a real issue that we should address?
It's a real issue because women are the focus of development. They are the center of it all, as mothers, as daughters, and as entrepreneurs, as farmers. There's hardly anything in life, you talk about livelihood, that women are not prominent. And very consistent in it as well. So when we go back to the Stone Age, they gathered the food, you know. They made sure that children had everything. Where I come from, you don't go to war if a woman is not leading the war. I'm a Chilo girl. Okay. You know, so women are the center of it all. And when we talk development and why it's such an issue today is because women are very vulnerable now and very much excluded from mainstream agenda. Every conversation, you just see women as tokens in those conversations. We discuss policies. We do not bring women around the table to be part of the conversation for what concerns them. Today we are talking about agriculture, we're talking about development. A whole lot about development depends on agriculture. And Nigeria, for instance, over 70% of farmers are women.
Over 70%?
Over 70. Now you ask me what kind of farming? Oftentimes they are laborers on their husbands' farms because they don't own the land, but they work on the farms.
Did that used to be the case? Because I thought pre-colonial times women owned their farms.
Supposedly.
Okay, supposedly.
There were inherited farms.
Okay.
There were also farms that were allocated to wives because they had this number of children. And so they were allocated some farmlands, not owned the lands per se, but they had the share to land and they could get something out of land. But when the value for the produce became something tangible, then the kind of agriculture that is assigned to a woman started changing. So you go to places where there's huge farming, say rice, maybe economic trees where you have oranges and all of that. The woman will farm vegetables on the farm.
Okay.
The tomatoes, the greens. and sometimes grains, because those are manure for the big harvest. Okay. So the yams, the soya beans, the rice, the man owns it.
Okay.
But she does the work consistently. Now on those farms, what she's farming and producing brings in daily income.
Okay.
Okra, the other kinds of vegetable, tomatoes, you know.
Yeah.
She's selling it on a daily basis. And that's the money the family is feeding on. And that's the money the child is sent to school. So who is funding the life of family members? She's basically doing that. Now the big crops are sold once in a year.
Yeah.
And what happens to the money? Probably more wives or whatever they decide to do with it. So it's a whole lot.
Is this some form of slavery?
I will not call it intentional slavery, but it is.
Okay.
It is very salient because of our patriarchal nature. A woman who is a household head probably does not have access to land because the husband is dead. The land has become an inheritance to the brother or husband's brother or some uncle somewhere. And so she has to rent land. If she wants to increase her farm size, she probably does not have a collateral to take loan to do that. So these are serious economic issues.
Yes.
And they are developmental issues.
Yes.
How do you grow your farm when you don't have access to income, loans? You also do not have policies that favor women.
Okay.
You have agricultural policies. Good enough, Nigeria has introduced mainstream gender into the federal agricultural policy.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. But what you see is you have incentives to farmers that do not factor the woman. When I don't have a collateral, how do I get the loan?
If the cooperatives, I thought like nicer.
Where you have cooperatives, there are stories around the cooperatives.
Okay.
Go back to 3 regimes backward, where you have cooperatives, where you had, I think it was AfriBank and UBA were the custodians of those loans. You have 10 women in one cooperative. Now, the default, the bank will have to pay for not issuing the loans to those cooperative group was just 10%. So
if they don't issue, they just pay.
It was very minimal. Okay. So it's easier to withhold that loan.
Yeah.
And pay the default.
Okay.
You know, so some of these policies do not encourage women. Now you also ask yourself, how many women have bank accounts? If you do not have bank account, how do you pay tax? How do you also assess loans? So these are developmental issues.
Yeah.
So deliberately the system sieves out women and does not encourage the woman. Now I take you back to the rural woman. No matter how much your farm is, how big your farm is, what is the access to market? I talk about the Benue woman, the Plateau woman that farms heavily.
Yeah.
What access do they have to the market? They struggle to take tomatoes to the market.
Yes.
Garden egg, whatever they have farmed. By the time they get there, they pay so much for transportation. Remember, they have spent so much on fertilizer and all other things.
Yes.
They get there, they are not able to sell. They do not even have a way of processing those crops. So do I have to take it back home? For what? The dripping from the tomato and all of that, the pepper, is so much pain. They just abandon it there.
Wow.
You know, you see the visuals. So for me, it's a serious issue. And where they are able to farm crops that, in actual sense, you yield good produce and turnover in terms of finance, the middlemen take it very cheaply off them. And so they don't have gains.
So what does the Adinya Rise Foundation then do
So what we are doing is we have some work we're doing with one of the institutions, Akweya College of Agriculture. This conversation started some 2 years ago, and we're working on it on value chain. So when somebody produces beans, rice, all of that, where is the place of the woman? And we are looking at women that have been displaced out of school. Some are single mothers. Some are still trying to go back to school, but because they don't have the wherewithal, we see how we can bring them into the value chain.
Okay.
Now, some can work on the farms and get something out of it by way of labor. Some during harvest, they are able to buy, to cook and sell. Some are able to buy, store, and then sell to other people. Now, we also brought in what we call a safe preservative.
Okay.
Now, when you have beans, there's so much pollution of beans with all kinds of chemicals. Yeah. So are you able to take the bags, the good bags? We have a bagging system that you now take to the rural areas, the rural farmers, introduce the bags to them, you sell and get your percentage.
Okay. You hold the thought a bit. I'll go on a break. When we come back from the break, we'll continue that thought. If you're watching us on NTA Makurdi, thank you so much. I would like you to go on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. But if you're on YouTube, the assignment is just simply to subscribe and also to share this with your friends. But we'll be right back. Just when we come after the break, we're going to continue that conversation where we stopped in terms of the bags and what are the things that some of these new people jostling for office, what will they have to do to improve the lot of the rural women in agriculture? We'll be right back.
Good day, creative. This is my entry for the Splendor Outdone Poetry and Social Story competition titled The Judge. Enshrouded with quivering hope, we pensively await the judge verdicts. Like men in a labor room waiting, my country consistently awaits her judges to bring nothing but justice. Here sits the judge, on whose mighty gavel lies the fate of a nation that carries its yawning like a portmanteau in a posh PVCs and is caught in a political slugfest. Lies has been drilled into the judge bone to make him a self-fatted hunt and silent justice. Come witness power, switch to the hands that cook lies in a sitting cauldron of deceit.
Bang the gavel and let the world hear the resounding voice of justice. Bang the gavel so the chain of insurgency and oppression may rattle into silence. Don't let their fact checks influence your decision, or their juicy ties and tights affect your action. Lest they perpetrate evil under the shield of the law, and truth slips away into the sewer of corruption. Bang the gavel and let the world know that justice is the foremost virtue of a civilizing race.
Okay, welcome back, and thank you very much for sharing the video and for subscribing to our channel. The conversation continues immediately because I love the thoughts, that you're doing something about a lot of women, and that whole bagging of the bags you were talking about. Can we maybe go on from there? Then?
Yeah, so what we are trying to do is work with young women in particular and try to see communities that are able to provide land for young women to farm beans, for instance. Because for us, beans is a crop that you can export if it is not preserved with chemicals, and it sells highly and the price is high also. So if we are able to get young women to farm beans in large quantity, bag, we source the market for them. And we ensure that it is a market that gives them value for their products. Aside from that, we also ensure that those who cannot farm beans in large quantity have access to the quantity that they can do things like akara. They can also cook and sell. Remember, we are talking about a community, a state where internally displaced persons are in large quantity. I hope that we can share some of the videos of women in the IDP camps, unregistered camps, in their numbers. But they are able to go to the bush all of the time to fetch firewood and sell by the roadside so they can feed their family members in the camp. So if they are able to farm beans or farm other crops, including vegetables, then this is a good source of income for them. And we are hoping that our advocacy goes to policymakers and politicians who are killing all over, dying hard to
spending 100
million just to get a piece of paper to contest for elections. Most of them have not succeeded in getting the ticket. I wonder what has happened with that money and what will happen to it. So we're looking for a government that is able to invest in not just the young women, but also the young boys in farming. Because this is what we have readily available. And you are aware that food insecurity in Nigeria is at an alarming stage, where I think the third worst country hit by food insecurity. If we look at a few states that are really badly hit by this, unfortunately, we have one of our local governments in Nigeria that is the worst in terms of poverty. So these are not good indices.
Which one is that?
Vandika. That is supposed to be, economically viable a few years back. So some of these data that comes out of Benue, for instance, gives very alarming statistics about hunger. In my village, for instance, Adi, now I'm married to a Kwande man. We used to, every week, you see tons of rice coming out of my village. Because, the soil is good. You farm rice on a small piece of land, you harvest so much. Yam, cassava, everything is good. But with changes that you see, insecurity and all of that, you see less vehicles, less traders going to those places to buy. And where people are striving to farm inputs and other needed implements and things like fertilizer is not forthcoming. You see government allocation, subsidized rate, but some big shot buys off a whole lot of truck and then retails. and women are not able to buy. Men, some of them can buy, but they are buying for their big farms. When a woman struggles to buy, at the end of the day, she's selling for less than she has invested in that farm. So it's not a good thing. We're advocating for investors. We're advocating for people who will also join us in alternative fertilizer. You know, things that encourage women to farm. Most importantly, the farmland itself and access to loan. I know that when I started my career working for OSA Foundation, we did quite a lot of pro-poor microcredit scheme. And we provided microcredit in such a way that we gave support to women to have alternative. And the alternative is a small garden which provided for feeding the family. And so you don't have to take from the microcredit to feed or to pay hospital bills. And so your business is able to grow. Good thing is that helped us quite a lot. Where I come from, the school enrollment of girl child increased in a way that you cannot imagine, because women were able to save from the microcredit scheme and their businesses grew. They were able to buy rice processing machines, and so they produce the local rice that you see, and they are able to sell, processed rice. So if they are not able to farm the rice, they are able to buy off from their husbands, process it, and sell in modules and in bags. Of course, that became a role model community for many pilots, for many. I remember then the wife of George Akume visiting the place and learning so much from what the women were doing. Processing also gari from, the cassava from the men's farm, so to speak, So these are places where I learned from a very young age how if women are supported, they can grow their farms in such a way that economically they are able to contribute to their communities and to the state and the nation at large. If we are not getting a place in leadership, as you can see now, from 35% dropping to 5-6%, I mean, it's not a good statistics in terms of women representation in governance. If we are able to take control of agriculture and the rest of the things, then we can determine where we are and what our voice will be in decision making, because it starts from the grassroots. But they
say women are refusing to vote for women. What is this challenge?
I think that's not an issue.
You remember the last primaries, the woman came out and made that damning statement that women are not ready, if you remember. How did you feel?
Well, the Nigerian women, they were not a homogeneous group. And that is, for me, is derogatory. To reduce women to that level of saying women are not voting women. Who is a woman in Nigeria? How much has the Nigerian woman contributed to Nigeria being what it is today? The Nigerian woman has played a very strategic role in bringing independence to Nigeria and sustaining independence. So when you say that, it's stupid. It's very stupid. The politics that I see today is not democracy. If it is democracy, you would define it not in terms of money. What we see today is money dictating the tone. Why is it that the men are collecting so much dollars and nairas to vote for another man? Why is that not an issue? Why is it an issue for a woman not voting a woman? How many women were delegates? This is, for me, the greatest insult. Ridiculing a woman to that level. For me, it's not an issue at all.
No, but she's the one who said it. I mean,
she's saying it out of frustration because she thought that women should be the support system for her. But the point is that a woman in the context of money politics cannot be your support system because she does not have the money. She is also not, she's not also not in the number that you require to give you the nomination that you want.
No, the point they raise often is that women, when you go to campaigns, it's
don't
largely,
use one woman as.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
No.
I'm not using. I'm putting the points to you because those points are being raised, and I'm saying, for you, how do you feel? Because it is, if it meant
I will
saying
not condemn my
easier.
sister. I will say that yes, the frustration is such that when it gets to a level where it's really bad, you look for your own to lean on. I think that was her point.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much of, oh, women failed me. No. The bigger picture and what we know is that money dictates it all.
Yeah, sure.
That's it.
If you now say aspirants for the position of governor in Benue State, what will be the key agenda you're going to put on the table, particularly with respect to good, making the livelihoods of women, especially women in agriculture, better? Let me take that as your parting shot.
I would say that there should be a deep reflection on where Benue is today. Benue has degenerated to a level where from food basket to people begging for peanuts to feed their families. Benue has degenerated to a level where people can't boast of going to their farms. Where they have farmland, they don't have the wherewithal to farm, to crop the land. Whoever is coming in as a governor, parliamentarian, whoever, local government chairman, councillors, senators, reps, they should think about the livelihoods of the people of Benue State. They should think about the education of our children. What is the education like? We used to send our children out to other states and countries to do exploit. What is happening? We see students dropping out in their final year because they are not able to pay school fees. That shouldn't be.
What of access to markets?
Access to market. Women are a larger population in farming. There should be deliberate policy and policy implementation that ensures that women have access to farm inputs, that there are feeder roads that provide access from urban areas to rural areas to bring crops to market. There should be silos that women or farmers are able to produce and store so much. There should be some food processing industry that turns the oranges that are wasting, the tomatoes that are wasting, the pepper into something that they are able to can and sell. You know.
Thank you so much because of the time. Thank you, Mabel Ade. I really appreciate your coming here, Mabel, from Adinya Ade Foundation. And we look forward to seeing more, of the work you're doing, because for us, development issues need to be given more attention. And we tell individuals, it's free, come, let's talk. This is why we're here. We want to talk some more about this stuff, because if the commercial TV stations can't do this, we are ready to do it. And thank you so much for watching. If you want to share your opinions on this, please, all the contact information is on the screen. You can send us a WhatsApp. You can also put your comments in on the videos. Also, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, and see you on another day.